we are going to study about nutrition in human beings. Now nutrition in human beings is carried out by the human digestive system. The human digestive system consists of alimentary canal and secretions from some glands. It starts with the alimentary canal. The alimentary canal starts with the mouth, followed by the esophagus, the stomach, small intestine and the large intestine. The secretions which are present here, they come from the three glands that are liver, pancreas and the salivary glands which are present in our mouth. So these are the organs which are involved in the human digestive system. Now how this process takes place? The first step, that is ingestion, it occurs in our mouth. That is, we take in the food through our mouth. So the first step, that is ingestion, is completed in the mouth. Now in the mouth there are three parts which are acting on the food. First, our teeth, they will chew the food or they will grind the food into smaller molecules. Once the food is being grinded, the tongue, it mixes the saliva with the food and makes it soft. Along with it, the salivary glands, they secrete an enzyme called as salivary amylase. This salivary amylase, it starts working on the carbohydrates present in the food in the mouth itself. It starts breaking down the carbohydrates into smaller molecules. So the first step, that is in the mouth, three steps are carried out. Teeth, they will chew and grind the food. Tongue, it mixes the food with saliva and makes it soft. And the third is the enzyme, that is salivary amylase, which will start converting the carbohydrates into smaller molecules. However, the food remains in our mouth for a very short period of time. So the conversion of carbohydrates into glucose is not completed. So further it is completed in stomach and small intestine. Now this food, this soft food, is pushed by the tongue into the food pipe. It is pushed by the tongue into the food pipe, that is esophagus. Through the esophagus, the food enters our stomach. Now what happens? The inner muscles of esophagus, they undergo alternate contraction and relaxation. These contraction and relaxation of these muscles is known as peristaltic movement. Because of these movement, the food is pushed down into the stomach. So now the food, the soft food, due to the peristaltic movement, it reaches our stomach. So from the mouth, the food has moved to esophagus, and from the esophagus, it has now moved to the stomach. Now what is stomach? It is a J-shaped bag, and here the food remains for almost 3 hours. The inner lining of the stomach have 3 tubular glands. These glands, they secrete 3 things. First is the HCl, that is the hydrochloric acid. Second is pepsin, which is an enzyme, and third is mucus. Now HCl, it has 2 functions over here. Whatever the food is coming, if there are any germs present in it, HCl will kill them. And second, it creates the acidic environment for the food. It converts the food into acidic because pepsin, that is the enzyme pepsin, works only in acidic environment on proteins. Okay, so what are the 2 things that HCl is doing? It is first killing the germs which are entering our body through the food, and second, it is providing the acidic environment. Now this acidic environment is necessary for pepsin to convert the proteins into smaller molecules. That is, it works on proteins only if it is acidic environment. The third thing, that is mucus, is secreted to prevent the inner lining of stomach. To prevent the inner lining of stomach by the action of HCl. HCl. HCl may erode the inner lining of stomach. So to prevent that, mucus is secreted. So these are the three things which are secreted in the stomach or which takes place in the stomach. Now this food, this acidic food is pushed into the small intestine. Okay, the food from here, this soft food, that is chyme. Okay, so the food converted here is now chyme, and this chyme is now transported or shifted to the small intestine. Is now transported into the small intestine. Now, how is this food moved into the small intestine? There are sphincter muscles. Which muscles are present here? Sphincter. S-P-H-I-N-C-T-E-R. The sphincter muscles, they again show peristaltic movements, because of which this food is moved down into the small intestine. Along with this food, there are some secretions which also enter the intestine, and these secretions come from liver and pancreas. So here we can see liver. Now this liver, so in the small intestine, three things are arriving. First is the chyme, that is the soft food. Then we have the secretions from liver and the secretions from pancreas. Now liver, they secrete a juice, that is bile, which is a greenish yellow liquid, and that they secrete it and store it in the gallbladder. From the gallbladder, it enters our intestine through the bloodstream. Along with it, the pancreatic juices, which are secreted by the pancreas, also enter the small intestine. So liver, it secretes bile, which is stored in the gallbladder, and now it enters our small intestine through the bloodstream. Pancreas, they secrete pancreatic juices. These are also entering now the small intestine. Now what is the role of bile and pancreatic juices? See, the food which is entered the small intestine from the stomach is acidic in nature. Pancreatic juices contain three enzymes, that is trypsin, pancreatic amylase and lipase. Out of this, the trypsin, you can remember it by sin. Even before we had a sin over here, which works on protein. So this trypsin, it will also work on protein. But this trypsin works on the food only in an alkaline environment. This pancreatic juice will work only in an alkaline environment. Okay. So what is the function of bile? Bile will convert acidic food to alkaline food, and also it breaks down the molecules of fats into fatty acids and glycerol. So what are the two functions of bile? Bile, which is secreted by the liver, stored in the gallbladder, enters along with the food into the small intestine. Bile is responsible for converting the acidic food into alkaline, and also it converts the bigger molecules of fats into smaller molecules of fatty acids and glycerols. Now the pancreatic juices, they contain three enzymes, that is trypsin, pancreatic amylase and lipase. Out of this, trypsin will decompose, or it will convert the larger molecules of protein into smaller molecules. Then amylase, pancreatic amylase, it will work on the carbohydrates and break down into smaller molecules. The third is lipase, it works on lipids, that is on fats. Now all these food molecules are broken down into simpler, smaller molecules. Further, this intestine will secrete intestinal juices. There will be a secretion from the small intestine, that is the intestinal juices. These intestinal juices will now convert proteins, that is the smaller molecules of proteins, to amino acids. They will convert the fats into smaller molecules of fatty acids and glycerol, and they will convert the carbohydrates into glucose. So the intestinal juices will convert the smaller molecules of proteins into amino acids, fats into fatty acids and glycerol, and carbohydrates to glucose. These molecules which are obtained now are very small in size and soluble in water. So here the process of conversion of the food into nutrients is completed. So we can observe that the main process of conversion of food also took place in intestine. After this, the next step is the food which is now these molecules, these are very small, so they can easily pass from the capillaries, that is intestinal capillaries, into the blood. In the intestine, small intestine, it has many finger-like projections which are known as villi. The inner lining of small intestine has many finger-like projections called as villi. These villi are covered with capillaries, and on the other side there is blood. These villi increase the surface area for the absorption of these molecules. Once these molecules are absorbed here, then they are transferred into the blood. So these villi, what will they do? What is their function? They increase the surface area for absorption. Because of this, the rate of absorption will increase. If surface area has increased, rate of absorption will also increase. That is, all these things will be transported to our blood fast. So this is the process of absorption which takes place in the intestine, and these cells are mainly present there only for the process of absorption, these villi cells. After this, the process, that is assimilation. The blood will carry these small molecules to different cells of our body, and there these food molecules are assimilated in the cells. These cells will use the energy from this food which will be released after the process of or during the process of respiration. They will use this energy for their various activities as well as for the growth and repair. So here we saw the process of ingestion, it took place in the mouth. In the mouth itself, the process of digestion started, which was completed in the small intestine. Then the process of absorption also took place in the small intestine over here, that is in the villi. Then this was assimilated in the in the cells of the different organs of the body. Now, what is the role of this large intestine? The undigested food now passes through the walls, through this large intestine. By passing from the large intestine, the capillaries over here in the intestine, large intestine, will absorb the extra water present in the food. They will make the food solid, which will then be stored in the rectum, and then it will be removed from the body through anus in the form of feces or stool. So the process of egestion, which process or the step of egestion, it takes place in the large intestine, where in the large intestine extra water is also absorbed. Now this is the way the process of nutrition takes place in human body. Let's give a small recap. Food enters through mouth. Now here it is churned into small parts. Then the tongue will mix the saliva, make it soft, and the salivary amylase is going to start converting the starch into glucose. Then it enters the stomach through the esophagus. That is the peristaltic movements of the esophagus. In the stomach there are three secretions, that is hydrochloric acid, mucus and pepsin. After their work, the food moves to the small intestine. Here in the small intestine, along with that food, there are secretions from the liver, that is the bile, and from the pancreas, that is the pancreatic juices. The bile will convert the acidic food into alkaline food, and the pancreatic juices will release 3 enzymes which will work on the different forms of food. Once the food is converted into smaller molecules, this food is then converted by the intestinal juices into amino acids, glucose and fats and fatty acids and glycerol. These molecules are water soluble, very small. So now they are absorbed by the capillaries of villi, and from there they are transferred to the blood. The blood then carries them to the different cells of our body, where these get assimilated. During the process of respiration, energy is released from this food, and then that energy is utilized by the cells to perform various activities, okay, and also for the growth and repair. The remaining undigested food is then passed through the large intestine, where extra water is reabsorbed from that food, and the solid food is stored in the rectum for some time, and then it is removed from our body through the anus in the form of feces or stool. This process of removing is known as ejection or defecation. The removal of waste from the body, that is this process of ejection, is also known as defecation. So this is the process of nutrition in human beings. I hope you have understood everything. If you have any doubts, do comment in the comment section. If you feel this information is good, like the button, press the like button, also share it with your friends, and don't forget to subscribe our channel to get updated about the latest videos. Bye.